Across the ages, a guarded wisdom has been preserved by those who knew how deeply it could change a life. This is the teaching of magnetic wealth, a knowledge that goes beyond ordinary ideas about material gain. You stand at the border of revelation, ready to receive what many have sought yet few have truly found. True abundance is not a trophy to chase, it is a power to be summoned, like the moon pulling the tide or a lodestone drawing iron from sand. Genuine prosperity answers to an inner magnetism you already hold, even if it has been buried beneath layers of limiting stories. The world moves by exact, steady laws. Just as gravity keeps planets on their courses, the law of magnetic wealth governs the movement of abundance. This principle shows that your bond with wealth is shaped not by effort alone but by the subtle frequencies you emit into the field of existence. You were taught to pursue, to clutch, to struggle for more. Yet those same frantic moves often push fortune further away. The sages of old understood that universal forces do not respond to chasing, they respond to alignment. When you tune your inner state to the frequency of plenty, you become a natural channel for prosperity. Within you is a wealth magnet, an inborn capacity to call abundance near. It has been hidden beneath the dust of doubt and conditioned scarcity, waiting for the right touch to awaken. The practices you will find here are not mere theory. They are keys to unlocking that sleeping power. This text is more than ink and paper. It is a portal to forbidden knowledge that once produced merchants, princes, and treasuries. As you move through these teachings, you will rouse that giant inside, shifting into a living magnet for every form of abundance. The effect will be a profound reworking of how you relate to prosperity, because these instructions teach mastery of attraction, allowing wealth to arrive as naturally as water flows downhill. Imagine an old trading town where a merchant named Hamid watched his fortunes turn to dust. Once his storerooms bristled with silks and spices, now they lay empty. Desperate, he sought a wise man at the city's edge. "My fortune has left me," Hamid confessed. The sage smiled. "Fortune cannot truly depart. It is a river that never stops. You have simply stepped out of its current. Tell me, when did you first sense this loss?" Hamid spoke of the great drought, the time fear tightened his chest. The sage nodded. "Then your inner pitch shifted from abundance to lack. Like an instrument that has fallen out of tune, you must be tuned again to the eternal note of prosperity." With quiet guidance, Hamid learned to calm his fear and attune to abundance. Within months his warehouses filled, not because he labored more wildly, but because his energy began to draw opportunities to him. This story reveals a hidden principle. Wealth responds to vibration. Every thought, every feeling, every small story you tell yourself emits a frequency that either attracts or repels the flow of riches. Consider the fisherman on the Pearl River who threw nets in frantic waves, stirring the water into mud and catching less each day. An elder taught him a secret passed down through families. Be still and let the water settle. The fisherman learned to wait, to watch, to let the surface clear. In that quiet, the fish swam into his nets with ease. His surrender to stillness brought more than his frantic labor ever had. From this lesson, take time each day to find undisturbed space. Breathe slowly until your heartbeat eases and imagine a golden current of prosperity moving through the universe. Picture that light entering through your crown and filling your body with its warmth. Let your subtle field harmonize with this frequency like a tuning fork finding perfect pitch. Remain in receptive calm for several minutes, knowing you are aligning your personal resonance to the natural flow of wealth. Make this a daily practice at sunrise or sunset, moments when the boundary between the seen and unseen is thin. The illusion of shortage is one of the most powerful veils you will confront. In a land where orchards stretched beyond sight, a king hoarded fruit as if famine were certain. Despite unending bounty, he gathered and stored until rot consumed what he had locked away. His fear of scarcity created waste where abundance should have flowed. This is a mirror of human conditioning. We learn to clutch and accumulate as if resources are finite. Look to nature for a different script. Does the sun fear its own light will run out? Do the seasons hesitate to give? Does the ocean diminish with each returning wave? The cosmos works through abundance, not lack. Another wanderer crossed a desert, convinced death awaited him for lack of water, though he had been walking just above a spring. Only when he stilled and observed did he notice green shoots, morning dew, and a cooler patch of sand that marked water beneath his feet. Begin a simple exercise to dissolve scarcity's shadow. Take a journal and write 20 instances of abundance in your life. Begin with the life-giving gifts, the air you inhale, the sun's daily rise, the pulse in your chest. Extend to subtler blessings, a courteous smile from a stranger, the lesson concealed in a setback, the chance that emerged from an obstacle. As you list, feel your awareness widen. Recognizing these proofs of provision loosens the hold of fear and tunes your eye to the steady flow of prosperity that already surrounds you. There is an inner gate to riches, a threshold that opens not to skillful force but to a resolute belief. Centuries ago, a seeker named Ramin found a heavy stone portal in the mountains, carved with symbols that seemed to hum. He searched for a hinge and a handle, tried to pry it open by force, and failed. Exhausted, he slumped against the cold rock. An old mystic appeared and told him the key cannot be held in the hand. The gate answers only to the unseen key of belief. Belief shapes reality with a force beyond physical law. Each of us carries a private gate to abundance that opens to steady faith in our worthiness. The story of a child named Maya makes this clear. Her grandmother offered a gift and told her to hold out her hands and keep her eyes closed. Doubt made Maya peek. Each time she hesitated, the gift remained withheld. Only when Maya stayed still and trusted did she receive the pendant. In the same way, your unwavering conviction becomes the unseen key that releases the treasure meant for you. Find a calm corner and breathe deeply. Visualize a radiant golden gate before you, its surface alive with ancient signs of plenty. Sense the gate resonating with your energy. Let any doubt wash away as you affirm your right to prosper. Imagine holding the warm, unseen key of belief. As your certainty grows, imagine the gate's surface beginning to glow, then slowly opening, releasing a tide of golden light that fills and surrounds you. Feel the truth of your deservingness settling into every cell, and carry that feeling into ordinary moments. It is the secret that turns small chances into great gifts. Your mind holds the master key to the vault of fortune. In a city of learning, a scholar named Thaddeus spent his life combing through scrolls for the hidden location of a legendary treasury. He believed the answers were buried in ancient texts, until one night, utterly exhausted, he slipped into deep meditation. In that stillness, he realized the vault he sought was not hidden in stone, but nested within the temple of his own mind. Your consciousness is the keeper of the blueprint for prosperity. Every idea you cultivate, every assumption you accept, forges the walls and the locks of that inner vault. Beliefs become the architecture of your financial life. Expectations form the keys or the chains. Think of a master blacksmith who shapes raw iron into an elegant blade. His secret is not the force of his hammer, but the clarity of the form he envisions and the steady repetition of his strikes. Your thoughts are that shaping force. Take a pen and list 10 limiting beliefs that have sealed your vault. Statements that have quietly told you money is scarce, that success is for others, not for you. Beside each constraint, write a liberating truth that serves as a new key. Replace "money is hard to come by" with "wealth flows to me easily." Change "I never have enough" into "I am a magnet for abundance." Let each rewording be a hammer strike, reshaping the metal of your mind until it gleams with possibility. Feeling is the magnet of wealth. An artist named Marcus sat before a blank canvas until he could feel color as a living pulse beneath his skin. Only then did his brush become an extension of that inner sensation. This is the principle that turns thought into reality. Emotions are the fuel of attraction. When you truly embody the sensation of having what you desire, you send a powerful signal into the field. The beggar Karim on a busy bazaar imagined himself as a king. He straightened his posture, imagined the ease and dignity of abundance, and though his clothes remained worn, people began to see him differently. Gifts, opportunities, and kindness followed his new bearing. To practice this, close your eyes each day and feel the state you want as if it were present now. The relief, the security, the joy. Let it rise from your core, spread through your chest, relax your shoulders, soften your face. Hold this feeling for 5 minutes. This is not fantasy. It is the energetic activation of your wealth frequency. Your outer life mirrors your inner landscape. A mirror maker named Ibrahim crafted beautiful frames but found each reflection subtly warped. A wise visitor revealed the truth. The distortions were not in the glass but in his view of himself. The riches you perceive or fail to perceive are reflections of the beliefs you hold. Look at your bank balance as a mirror revealing the story you tell about money. Inspect your income as an echo of your sense of self-worth. To change the reflection, change the inner picture. Sit with a journal and write down what your current circumstances might reveal about your deepest beliefs regarding wealth. Then draft the beliefs you wish to see reflected back, clear, affirmative, and true. Destroy the money myths that bind entire communities. In a valley called Silverton, people believed a curse followed anyone who prospered, so they never allowed abundance to settle. These inherited stories act like chains, shaping behavior and outcomes across generations. A child named Malik feared monsters in the dark until his grandmother gave him a crystal that revealed the ordinary things behind each shadow. Your money myths are the same, inherited, repeated, and falsely powerful. Name 3 beliefs you learned as a child that still echo in your financial life. They might be gentle sayings you heard at the dinner table or warnings whispered in hard times. For each, craft an affirmation that replaces the old story with a healthier truth. Money flows easily to me. Wealth enables me to do good. Success supports my values. Gratitude is not sentiment. It is a law. A treasure hunter who roamed the hills without ever acknowledging the daily gifts of fertile soil and available fruit found his harvest dwindling. When he learned to give thanks, the earth itself seemed to respond. Gratitude acts like a magnet that draws more to what you already appreciate. Create a gratitude ledger and, for 7 days, list 10 financial blessings each morning or night. Specific, felt, and sincere. Include small things: a coin found on the street, a helpful tip from a friend, an unexpected discount. Feel genuine appreciation as you write. Let it swell in your chest. That appreciation becomes an energetic invitation for more good to arrive. Unresolved emotions block flow the way a dam halts a river. Past wounds around money, humiliation, loss, betrayal, pile up like stones. Each unprocessed memory becomes mortar that slows the water of prosperity. An old potter discarded clay that held shapes of past forms. He taught his apprentice that to craft new vessels one must let go of the old patterns. To clear your emotional dam, give yourself permission to release. Write every unresolved feeling about money on a page. Name the fear, the shame, the regret. Then close your eyes and imagine a clear river. Place each written stone into the current and watch it float away, smoothing as it goes. Feel the lightness as the water runs freer with each release. Repeat until you sense the weight lifting. Within you is an inner compass that points toward opportunity. A miner named Ibrahim abandoned worn maps when a pull inside guided him to an overlooked cavern with the richest vein of gold the mountains had yielded. This inner guidance often whispers rather than shouts, subtle nudges, a sense of rightness, an inexplicable tilt toward a choice. Still your mind and listen. Visualize a golden compass at your heart, its needle alive with warmth. Feel it align with your highest call and pulse gently as it points the way. Practice checking in with this inner instrument when you face choices. Trust its quiet prompts. It knows routes your intellect cannot see. Your words shape reality. An oracle in a remote village noticed that when she spoke of abundance, the land responded. Words are not neutral. They are energetic declarations that carry form into the unseen. Each casual line, "I can't afford this," that always slips away, becomes an instruction to the universe. Begin a 7-day language journal. Everywhere you speak about money, jot down your exact phrases. At the end of each day, replace scarcity-laced statements with affirmative present-tense declarations such as, "I am wealthy," or "I attract the resources I need." Over time, your speech will become a sacred tongue that rewires your destiny. Visualization is the blueprint the world follows. A sculptor who had never seen light created precise statues because his mind's eye pictured them first. Vivid, sensory-rich mental rehearsals send a clear pattern into the field of possibility, drawing circumstances into alignment with your inner scene. Quietly imagine receiving a meaningful sum. See the exact notes, feel the texture, hear the coins, feel the gratitude and relief. Play this scene daily for 5 minutes, making it as rich and detailed as possible. The mind grows stronger through repetition. Your clear, repeated image becomes a spiritual mold that the universe fills. Clarity of desire acts like a lighthouse. A keeper who polished his beacon knew that even a small smudge could scatter a ship. In the same way, fuzzy wishes create interference. When you want wealth, state it with precision. The amount, the timeline, the form it will take. Draft a declaration of wealth in the present tense, beginning with "I now receive," and read it morning and night for 7 days. Let your declaration cut through mental fog like a polished lens, guiding resources and circumstances directly to your shore. Your relationship with money transforms when you see it as living energy rather than a static object to chase. In a small coastal village, a fisherman named Kai learned that frantic effort scattered the fish he sought. He flailed his net and worried louder than the current, and the catch dwindled. An elder watching from the shore reminded him that fish follow the flow of water. One must understand the currents rather than thrash against them. When Kai slowed, observed the tide, and cast with calm attention, the nets filled. This is the same lesson for your finances. Money is a current that prefers harmony over force. When you chase it with tension, you create resistance. When you cultivate a relaxed, loving relationship with it, money flows more freely. To change how you feel, write a letter to money as if to a dear friend. Begin with honesty. Mention your resentments, your fears, your secret hopes. Pour out what you have held back, then gently rewrite the tone into one of gratitude and openness. Close the letter by inviting a peaceful, cooperative relationship with abundance. This practice shifts your emotional stance toward money. It transforms old hostility into collaboration and signals your subconscious that you are ready for a new exchange. Symbols and shapes carry their own language. Throughout history, sacred geometries and icons have been used to tune the human mind to specific qualities. In a mountain temple, a traveler traced a spiral carved into the stone and felt a hum of recognition. That spiral was a pattern of expansion. Circles hinted at completion. Upward triangles suggested elevation. When you place intentional symbols in your space, you speak directly to your deeper mind. Draw a spiral and hold the intention of growth as you trace it. Put that image where you handle your money. Let it be a quiet code that educates your unconscious, aligning your inner landscape with abundance. The path of least resistance is nature's way. A river does not batter the rock. It curves and finds a path that conserves energy while moving steadily forward. So too must you stop forcing outcomes and learn to allow. Release micromanagement and frantic control. Choose tasks that honor your natural strengths and then let circumstances cooperate with your intention. Identify 3 areas in your financial life where you habitually push and strain. Replace the impulse to force with a deliberate plan of gentle, consistent action. Instead of checking balances obsessively, schedule calm weekly reviews. Instead of pushing desperately for promotions, focus on mastering your craft so that opportunities arrive without aggressive grasping. Preparing to receive is as important as asking. A farmer who prayed for rain but forgot to set out barrels watched the water run to the sea. The universe wants to give, but you must prepare a vessel. Clean and organize your wallet and financial documents. Create a small altar or shelf where you place symbolic items that represent readiness. A neatly folded bill, a tidy card, a simple token that reminds you of your openness. Speak quietly as you prepare. I now make space to receive. The act itself sends a clear electromagnetic message to your own nervous system that you are ready for the gifts that come. Fear of wealth is an ancient specter. People imagine loss of friends, moral corruption, or unwanted exposure. In a village where an ancient well was feared, a brave woman drank and found the water pure. Fear had kept the community thirsty. Examine the fears that stop you from accepting abundance. Write 3 of them on paper. Fear of losing authenticity, fear of being judged, fear of responsibility. Under each fear write its positive counter-truth. Wealth allows me to serve more deeply. Abundance amplifies my values. Responsibility strengthens my stewardship. Place these pages somewhere you will see them, and read them until the truths settle into the body as facts. Trust the unseen currents that move wealth. A lost traveler in a dark forest felt an invisible warmth guiding him until he reached a clearing filled with treasure. There are networks and timings beyond your immediate sight that carry opportunities to your door. Surrender to them with confident openness. Spend 10 minutes each morning in quiet, feeling the web of unseen support. Whisper the phrase, I trust the unseen currents of abundance, and let it become a felt reality rather than an idea. When doubts arise, return to that felt trust as if touching an inward compass that never fails. Recognize the richness already present. A king searched the known world for a legendary crown only to find that his reflection already wore it. The true treasures of life are not only coins but relationships, health, skills, and the daily miracles you overlook. Make a list of 5 forms of wealth you already possess. The steady beat of your heart, a friend who stands by you, a skill you have honed, a memory that warms you, a capacity to learn. Sit with each item until you feel gratitude so vivid it moves through your chest. This recognition shifts your energy from longing to fullness, which in turn magnetizes more abundance. Become the flame that attracts gold rather than the hand that chases it. In a forge, a metallurgist taught a young smith that the fire does not chase the metal, it transforms it by its own nature. To embody wealth is to let every aspect of your life, thoughts, feelings, posture, speech, vibrate with abundance. Practice a daily ritual before a mirror. Stand tall, breathe deeply, place your hand on your heart and say aloud, I am abundance. Feel the truth moving through your body. Hold that posture beyond the words until your daily actions naturally reflect the state you claim. Momentum is the silent force multiplier. An orchard that began with a single seed becomes a forest only through patient, repeated care. Small faithful acts compound into a sweep of results beyond what a single effort could produce. Choose one small, sustainable action you can do daily for 30 days, saving a specific amount, reading about wise money habits for 10 minutes, or practicing gratitude each morning, and commit to it. Watch the rhythm build. What starts as a seed will gather into momentum and eventually into a harvest that surprises you. Decision creates direction. At a crossroads, a merchant named Marcus froze while others chose paths and prospered. Indecision holds energy in stasis. Each moment you hesitate, you close the channel that wealth could have used. Make it a rule. When a decision aligns with your values and the impulse feels true, choose and proceed. Keep a journal of 5 past financial decisions and note whether they were made from scarcity or from clarity. Learn from those outcomes and then vow to make future choices from a place of abundance. Giving is the seed of receiving. A ruler who distributed coins saw a burst of commerce and creativity as villagers used what they had been given. Money circulates. It must move to remain alive. Select an amount that feels meaningful and give it with joy, not obligation. Notice how the act of giving opens doors. Record in your journal the date, the amount, and how the energy returned to you later, sometimes in unexpected forms. This practice rewires scarcity into circulation and creates a habit of generosity that finance and spirit both reward. Make a vow to your prosperity. A knight who pledged himself to victory stepped into a new destiny. A vow is a spiritual contract with your own higher self. Write a solemn statement of commitment to your abundance, sign and date it. Place it where you will see it daily and touch it each morning to renew your pledge. This act binds your attention and aligns your internal landscape toward a single, unwavering aim. Wealth as state of being is not a slogan, it is identity. A student asked a master how to acquire great wealth and was told to stop trying to have and start remembering to be. A lion raised among sheep discovered his nature only when he saw himself reflected. In the same way, you remember the wealth that is your essence. For the next 21 days, practice standing before a mirror and declaring with feeling, I am wealth. Let your posture and breath carry the declaration into the tissue of your body so that it becomes less a thought and more an embodied way of moving through life. Look beyond money to the full spectrum of abundance. A merchant who nursed an injured bird found a richness greater than coin. Family, health, creativity, insight, and service are channels of wealth that sustain the rest. Make a comprehensive inventory of your non-monetary riches and feel gratitude for each item. This broader view strengthens your energetic field, anchoring you in a sense of plenty that money then reflects. Hold the vision of infinite supply. A man digging by a single well discovered an underground river that transformed a desert into an oasis. The world contains far more resources than scarcity narratives would have you believe. Sit quietly and imagine a mighty river of abundance, endless and renewing, flowing through and around you. Practice this image each morning until the sense of limitation dissolves and you move through life from the felt reality of inexhaustible supply. Plant for legacy. A builder who laid stones with prayers thought beyond his lifetime, creating structures that endured for generations. Think now about the wealth you wish to leave beyond your years: wisdom, opportunity, kindness, financial stability. Draft a brief legacy plan that extends your view past immediate gain to the future you would like to seed. This expands your choices and aligns daily actions with long-reaching impact. Every story in these teachings points to one essential truth: the source of abundance is not external. It is a field that responds to your inner state. As you live these practices, you become a conductor that channels prosperity rather than a pursuer who exhausts himself chasing illusions. Allow the energy to move, prepare to receive, and trust that the unseen laws are arranging circumstances in your favor. Money is energy that moves through patterns and systems, not a fixed object to corner or hoard. In a trading port, merchants who chased profits with anxiety found the coins slipping through their fingers. One day a calm trader sat at his stall, attentive and generous, greeting customers with warmth. People lingered, conversation flowed, and money arrived naturally. When you change your tone toward money from grasping to respectful curiosity, you alter the energy that guides it. Money prefers an open exchange rather than a clenched fist. This shift in relationship transforms transactions into circulations and scarcity into mutual benefit. Write a letter to money. Sit quietly and begin with honesty. Speak of your grievances, the times you felt betrayed by finance, the moments you blamed luck. Then turn the page and transform that tone into gratitude. Thank money for the lessons it taught, for the opportunities it revealed, for the times it arrived in disguised forms. Close the letter by inviting a new relationship of ease, cooperation, and mutual respect. This act rewires your emotional stance, reshaping old hostility into a cooperative energy that invites more fluid financial exchanges into your life. Symbols and signs carry memory and resonance. Throughout ages, sacred forms were used to align people with unseen forces. A traveler in the hills found a temple carved with spirals and circles, and when he traced these patterns he felt a quiet anchoring inside. The spiral is a language of expansion. Circles speak of completion. Upward triangles lift the field toward higher planes. Draw a symbol with intention and place it where you handle money. As you touch the symbol, breathe and set an intent for abundance. This practice speaks to the deeper layers of mind that respond to pattern and rhythm, helping your inner system accept new frequencies of wealth. The path of least resistance teaches economy of effort. Water flows around obstacles rather than attempting to crush them. When you stop forcing outcomes and begin to move with the currents of your life, doors open. Resistance is usually self-created: worry, frantic micromanagement, and the belief that success must be wrested into existence. Release the idea that everything should be controlled. Instead, create a simple plan and then allow life to rearrange itself around your intention. Replace frantic checking with scheduled reviews. Replace desperate networking with authentic presence and consistent contribution. In this space of ease, opportunities align without heavy exertion. Readiness to receive is practical and sacred. A sailor prayed for rain but left no barrels to collect it. When the storm came, the blessings slipped away. The universe delivers, but only into a prepared vessel. Clean and organize your wallet. Remove expired cards and crumpled receipts. Create a small space in your home reserved for prosperity. A shelf, a corner, a neatly placed object that signals welcome. As you arrange, speak softly. I make space for abundance. The physical act communicates to your nervous system that you are ready, and this readiness opens channels for practical opportunities to appear. Fear of wealth often disguises itself as moral caution. People worry wealth will change them or alienate loved ones, so they unconsciously sabotage success. In a village that feared a once blessed well, a brave woman drank and discovered clear water. Their fear had been a story, not truth. Confront the fears that stop you from accepting abundance. Write 3 fears on paper. Beside each, press a truth. Wealth allows me to express my values. Abundance expands my ability to serve. Responsibility refines my stewardship. Read these truths until they settle inside you. Courage is the simple practice of testing what you fear, and often the test reveals nothing to fear at all. Trust the unseen and cultivate patience. A wanderer guided by a feeling through a forest found a clearing where treasure lay. There are invisible networks, timings, and opportunities that orchestrate how wealth arrives. You do not need to map every step to move forward. Practice a short daily surrender. Sit quietly for 10 minutes and feel the subtle web of support around you. Say silently, I trust the unseen currents of abundance. Allow this feeling to anchor into your day. When doubt rises, return to the felt sense of support rather than chasing evidence. The universe moves through rhythm and timing. Your role is to align and receive. Recognize the riches you already own. A king searched continents for a crown, only to discover his reflection wearing it. Wealth is not limited to coins. It is present in relationships, skill, health, and daily comforts. Make a list of 5 things you already possess that are true forms of wealth. Hold each one in your awareness long enough that gratitude wells in your chest. This practice changes your baseline from lack to plenty, and that change alters how new abundance finds you. Embody abundance rather than mimic its surface. A metallurgist told a young smith that the fire does not chase metal, it transforms it by its nature. To truly become wealthy, you must let your posture, speech, decisions, and presence reflect abundance. Each morning stand before a mirror, breathe, center your gaze, place a hand on your heart and state clearly, I am abundance. Let the posture and breath hold the truth until it no longer feels like an exercise but rather a way of being. Over time, your external life will align to the inner shift. Momentum is the compound interest of action. A single seed becomes an orchard through faithful tending, season after season. Choose one modest, sustainable act to perform daily for 30 days. It might be saving a small fixed amount, studying wise financial habits for 10 minutes, or recording 3 things you're grateful for each morning. Commit and perform the act without fail. That momentum will gather like snow rolling down a mountain, eventually creating results that far outweigh the initial effort. Decisions create direction. A merchant froze at a crossroads and lost opportunities to those who chose. Every day offers choices between fear and clarity. Indecision traps energy. Decisive action opens channels. Review 5 past financial choices and note whether they were made from scarcity or from confidence. Learn and then choose differently. Each clear decision moves you toward the life you intend. Circulation sustains life. A ruler who gifted coins saw markets flourish and wealth multiply. Giving is not loss, it is a productive motion that returns amplified. Find a comfortable amount to give with joy and intention, not obligation. Keep a record of the gift and observe how energy returns to you. sometimes as direct financial gain, sometimes as opportunity, sometimes as new relationships. Giving rewires your system to expect healthy flow rather than hoarding. Make a vow to your prosperity. The knight who pledged himself to victory changed his fate. A vow is a spiritual contract that converts desire into commitment. Write a personal pledge to abundance, sign and date it, and place it where you will renew it daily. The simple act of consecrated commitment focuses your mind and draws aligned circumstances to match the promise you make. Being wealth is remembering who you are. A student asked a master how to have wealth and was told to be wealth. A lion among sheep discovered his nature when he saw his reflection. Wealth is not a foreign acquisition but an awakening to your own essence. Practice looking in the mirror daily, feeling the statement, "I am wealth," reverberate through your bones. Let the posture, breath, and tone make the truth palpable. Look beyond currency to the many streams of abundance. A man who nursed an injured bird discovered a deeper richness than gold: connection, care, and family warmth. Make an inventory of non-monetary wealth: health, friendships, skills, experiences. Acknowledge them with gratitude and notice how your life begins to mirror that internal abundance. Accept infinite supply. A desert digger who believed in a single well discovered an underground river. The cosmos is generous beyond your imagining. Visualize a vast, ceaseless river of abundance and step into its flow. Feel its cool current around you and allow that sensation to remove the fiction of limitation from your body. Plant for future generations. A builder whispered prayers into foundations that outlived him. Think in terms of legacy. Create a brief plan describing the values, skills, and resources you want to pass on. This long view changes how you invest time and attention now. Each practice moves you from pursuit to presence. As you apply them, you become less a hunter of fortune and more a channel through which abundance moves freely. Prepare your vessel, clear old stories, and allow the quiet forces of momentum and timing to arrange your path. A single seed, tended with patient devotion, becomes an entire orchard. The law of momentum shows itself in every living system. Small, faithful acts compound and eventually produce results far beyond their humble beginnings. A farmer who planted a golden seed and cared for it each season watched a tree grow that bore fruit season after season, and those fruits eventually seeded an orchard that fed an entire village. Your financial life responds to the same principle. Each intentional choice, each modest habit repeated day after day, gathers force until it moves like a rolling snowball that cannot be stopped. Momentum does not depend on grand gestures. It depends on consistency and focus. Choose one small, sustainable action and commit to it for 30 days. Let this daily act be your planting of the first seed. Save a fixed tiny amount, study money principles for 10 minutes, practice gratitude every morning. Do not skip. The accumulation of these faithful motions creates an energy that magnetizes opportunities and expands possibilities in ways you cannot calculate in advance. Making clear decisions is the engine that directs momentum. At a crossroads, a merchant who could not choose watched as others passed him by, taking paths that led to fortune. Indecision freezes energy. Decisive choice opens a current. Decisions align your attention, your nervous system, and your environment. Each decision you make is an instruction to the universe. This is the direction I inhabit. Review 5 consequential financial choices you made in the past and note the feeling behind each. Did scarcity govern you, or clarity? Learn from the patterns you observe and vow to move differently. Resolve that when a choice aligns with your values and your intuition signals truth, you will act. Even small choices practiced with intention create a riverbed into which abundance flows. The discipline of choosing also trains your inner compass. Over time you will notice that decision itself becomes easier, more natural, and more aligned with your deeper purpose. Generosity opens circulation. A ruler who gave away coins saw commerce and creativity flourish as his people used what they were given. In giving, new life emerged. Wealth is not currency hoarded in a vault. It is a living current that needs circulation to remain vibrant. When you give with clear intention and without attachment, you create a space that the universe rushes to fill. Choose a sum that is meaningful but comfortable to you. Give it with joy and without strings. Observe how the energy returns, often not in the same form but through avenues you did not predict: a chance conversation, a timely idea, an unexpected aid. Keep a simple note of your giving and of any returns you receive, allowing the pattern of multiplication to teach you how generosity transforms scarcity into flow. Declare a vow to your prosperity. The knight who pledged his life to victory rewired his destiny through committed speech. A vow is a binding contract between your conscious intention and your deeper self. Write a clear, solemn pledge that names your dedication to abundance, sign it, and place it somewhere you will see it daily. Touch it each morning and renew the sense that your life is consecrated to this path. The vow becomes a North Star in uncertain times. It fuels persistence when obstacles arise and coheres your actions into a single trajectory that the universe can respond to. To be wealthy is to remember an essential truth about your nature. A student seeking riches was told by a master to stop trying to have and begin to be. A lion raised among sheep learned who he was only when he saw his reflection. This remembering is not an exercise in pretending. It is a reclaiming of identity. When you practice saying "I am wealth" and allow your posture, breath, and voice to carry the feeling of abundance, you are not fabricating a story. You are aligning your field to a truth that has always been present. Repeat this daily until the phrase no longer feels like an act of will, but like a natural expression. This shift turns effort into presence and pulls circumstances that match your new state. Wealth flows in many currencies beyond the narrow stream of money. A merchant who rescued an injured bird discovered an unexpected richness: renewed family warmth, the returning smile of his partner, the laughter of his children. Health, relationships, skill, creativity, reputation, and inner peace are forms of capital that sustain and multiply material abundance. Create an inventory of your existing non-monetary riches. Name them, feel gratitude for them, and allow this recognition to expand your sense of sufficiency. When your identity is rooted in a wider field of abundance, money naturally becomes one of several channels rather than the single measure of your worth. Embrace the idea of infinite supply. A man digging vainly at a single well discovered an underground river that transformed the desert into an oasis. The cosmos is not a closed system with only so much to go around. When you release the belief that resources are limited, you open to the vast currents that feed life in hidden ways. Practice a morning visualization of a mighty river of abundance that flows without beginning or end, its waters cool and renewing. Step into that river in your imagination and feel its endless provision. Over time, this felt reality realigns your decisions, your creativity, and your willingness to receive. Build for legacy rather than for temporary advantage. A builder who whispered prayers into his stones created structures that outlived him and served generations. When you think beyond immediate gain and imagine the impact of your choices across time, your priorities shift. Invest not only money but also wisdom, habits, and values into the people and projects that will carry your intention forward. Draft a short legacy plan that names the skills you will teach, the resources you will seed, and the principles you will pass down. This long view turns accumulation into cultivation and aligns your life with a much larger horizon. Clear emotional blockages in order to create space for flow. Past wounds, shame, and unresolved money experiences act like dams that slow the river of your life. A potter who discarded clay that held old shapes taught that to form something new you must release the imprint of previous forms. Make a practice of writing down every unresolved emotion you hold about money. Name it without shame. Then imagine placing each written note into a current and letting the water carry it away, watching the edges soften as the stone travels downstream. Repeat until you feel a palpable lightness. Emotional clearing is not a one-time act but a steady practice that allows new energy to circulate where old sediment once blocked the way. Refine your language so that it acts as a tool of creation rather than a habit that binds you. The oracle whose words shaped crops and rain understood that speech programs reality. Replace phrases of scarcity with present-tense declarations of abundance. Notice the casual utterances you make about money and catch them in the act. Over time, the language you use will become the language you live, and the habitual field of your speech will rewire the conditions that surround you. Finally, embody an attitude of readiness. Prepare your life for gifts by clearing clutter, organizing your financial tools, and creating physical spaces that signal welcome. The sailor who forgot barrels lost the rain that came. The villager who cleared a place in his home for abundance made room for tangible rewards. The universe meets preparedness with offering. Keep your spaces clean, your ledgers orderly, and your habits respectful of the resources you already hold. Each practice here is a thread. When woven together, they form a fabric of momentum that shifts how the world responds to you. Momentum begins with a decision, grows through small consistent acts, and is sustained by clarity, generosity, trust, and embodied presence. As you live these principles, your life stops being a series of frantic attempts to catch luck and becomes instead a steady unfolding of opportunities that resonate with who you have become. You will meet doors opening in ways that look like coincidence until they become too frequent to be dismissed. At that point, you will know the difference between chasing and drawing. You will be a living magnet, and prosperity will move through you with effortless grace. The steady unfolding of wealth often looks less like a sudden windfall and more like the quiet arrival of a tide. The art of building lasting prosperity is not founded on frantic ambition, but on the deliberate cultivation of habits, attention, and inner alignment. Picture a gardener who tends a plot year after year. She sows, waters, prunes, and protects. Seasons pass, and at first there is little to show, then an abundance so generous it astonishes the onlooker. Your financial life rewards the same patient tending. Daily choices that honor your values, small acts repeated with devotion, and an inner posture of readiness all gather into a force that reshapes your outer circumstances without violent effort. Begin with the way you manage attention. Attention is the currency of creation. What you focus on strengthens, what you ignore fades. If your mind habitually rehearses scarcity, it expands the story of lack into your future. If instead, your attention habitually rests on opportunity, gratitude, and solutions, you are training your nervous system to notice openings where others see only barriers. Each morning, before the day pulls you outward, spend 5 minutes observing where your attention naturally goes. Gently redirect it toward one purposeful theme: abundance, capability, service, or growth. This small discipline rewires the pathways through which your decisions and actions flow. Practical systems matter as much as inner work. A receptive mind is a fertile field only if you plant good seeds and tend to them. Create simple financial routines that reduce friction and prevent waste. Automate a modest saving each month so that it becomes a sacred baseline rather than a negotiation with impulse. Keep a single clear ledger, digital or paper, where you track incoming and outgoing flows. The gesture of recording is itself a ritual that signals to your subconscious a new order. I am stewarding resources with care. Over time, these small systems become scaffolding for larger possibilities, enabling you to respond to openings without scrambling. Cultivate skill and competence. Opportunity often favors those who are prepared. A craftsman who hones his skill may sit in apparent obscurity until the exact moment a patron arrives who needs precisely what he does. When the call comes, the prepared hand moves with ease and purpose. What one chooses to study, practice, and refine matters more than chasing every shiny new opportunity. Choose a field or two in which you can develop real mastery, and commit time to deliberate practice. Let your expertise be a magnet. The deeper your capacity, the more your skill will attract resources, partnerships, and invitations that align with your vision. Nurture relationships with intention. Human networks are channels of exchange far more potent than single transactions. The trader who greets patrons with warmth finds them returning not just with commerce but with loyalty and referrals. When you cultivate trust, reliability, and generosity in your connections, your social field becomes a reservoir that supports creative endeavors. Invest time in listening, offering thoughtful help, and following through on promises. Small gestures of care accumulate into reputational capital that invites collaboration and opens doors you could never force alone. Hold a long view while tending to the present. The imbalance of living only for immediate returns breeds frantic choices. Imagining only the future without attending to daily reality breeds fantasy. The wise path integrates both horizons, daily disciplines that compound over years. Think in decades when you choose investments of time and attention. Plant processes that will bear fruit for you and for those who follow. This perspective changes your risk tolerance, your commitment to systems, and the way you steward resources so that your efforts link into a generational arc. Emotional intelligence is a core financial skill. The inner weather of your moods affects negotiations, decisions, and relationships. Anger, panic, or shame narrow perception and fray connections. Calm curiosity and steady confidence widen possibilities. Learn to recognize emotional triggers related to money. The sting of a past rejection, the shame of an early mistake, the knot of comparison. When these reactions arise, practice mindful noticing rather than immediate action. Pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with your larger intention. Over time, this discipline builds resilience and opens the capacity to act with clarity even under pressure. Align your actions with a clear inner ethics. Prosperity that conflicts with your values will create tension and sabotage. When wealth supports what matters to you, care for family, artistic integrity, innovation, service, it becomes sustaining rather than corrosive. Define your principles, what you will not do for money, and how you will use wealth to express what matters. Making these boundaries explicit is an act of power. It gives direction to choices and prevents the drift that can accompany success. People who keep a moral compass aligned with generosity and stewardship discover that abundance deepens rather than isolates. Use visualization not as fantasy but as rehearsal. High performers across many fields practice mental rehearsal to prepare for actual performance. Visualize scenarios with sensory detail and emotional fidelity. The conversation that wins a client, the calm satisfaction of a deposit, the generous hands you place money in when it feels right. Rehearse not only the successes but also the way you meet obstacles with steadiness. This mental practice builds a muscle of expectation that influences both perception and behavior, increasing your readiness when real opportunities arrive. Honor rhythms of rest and celebration. Too often ambition is sustained by a grief-driven work ethic that burns energy without replenishment. Wealth that endures is supported by cycles of rest, reflection, and celebration. Schedule small rituals of appreciation when milestones are reached, even minor ones. Rest replenishes creativity, strengthens judgment, and maintains the clarity that attracts sustainable prosperity. The discipline of working hard pairs most fruitfully with the discipline of restoring and remembering why the work matters. Practice creative problem solving. When friction appears, look for the path that reduces it rather than simply pushing harder. Entrepreneurs who solve systemic problems create value that others are willing to compensate for. Think in terms of contributions rather than entitlements. What need can you meet that others miss? How can you assemble your unique mix of skills, relationships, and resources to offer something useful? Framing wealth creation as contribution changes the energy around it and invites a reciprocal response from the world. Keep a humility that fuels learning. The confident arrogance that imagines knowing everything repels help and blinds one to nuance. Maintain curiosity and a willingness to be corrected. Seek mentors, read widely, and test ideas in small experiments. When an approach fails, treat it as data rather than a verdict on your worth. The iterative humility of learning reinforces a trajectory of growth, allowing momentum to gather in a direction that aligns with reality rather than ego. Finally, weave meaning into your financial story. Money guided solely by fear or vanity creates brittle structures. When purpose anchors your efforts, be it family security, creating beauty, fostering freedom, or serving community, wealth becomes a tool for expression rather than merely a metric. Purpose supplies endurance when obstacles appear and invites partnerships resonant with your deepest aims. As you carry these practices into daily life, you move from simply trying to get more to becoming the kind of person to whom more naturally comes. There is a rhythm to how influence and opportunity gather around a life. It is not random favor or mere luck. It is the result of habit, presence, and a quiet stewardship of one's inner world. Think of a lighthouse keeper who maintains the flame not because it is glamorous but because he knows ships depend on the steady light. Similarly, those who become magnets for abundance cultivate small rituals and disciplines that maintain a clear, inviting field. These practices are neither flashy nor secretive. They are ordinary acts performed with extraordinary attention. Over time, they create a centrifugal force that draws resources, invitations, and partnerships to the life rather than scattering one's efforts in aimless pursuit. Begin with integrity in everyday matters. The person who honors small agreements builds trust as naturally as a tree grows rings. When you pay what you say you will pay, answer messages with courtesy, and show up on time, you deposit credibility into the social ledger that later permits larger exchanges. Integrity is not a moral luxury. It is a practical currency that multiplies trust. This cumulative trust will be the soil in which larger opportunities germinate. The habit of keeping one's word becomes a magnet that attracts collaborators, clients, and allies who prefer to work with those whose inner and outer commitments align. Clear communication amplifies possibility. Many lost chances are not the result of scarcity but of misalignment between intention and expression. When you state your desires plainly and without apology, declaring what you want and why it matters, you direct others and the universe to respond. People cannot help you if they do not know the direction you are moving toward. Speak with clarity about the kinds of projects you accept, the values that guide you, and the type of partnerships you seek. Honest communication decreases friction, aligns expectations, and invites the right doors to swing open without wasted time. Curate your environment with deliberate care. The spaces in which you move carry a frequency and communicate to your subconscious what is possible for you. A cluttered desk, a chaotic inbox, or a home that constantly signals neglect sends a subtle message of unavailability to the field of opportunity. Conversely, an orderly workspace, a calm calendar, and a few meaningful objects arranged with intention broadcast readiness. Take time to purge items that signal past scarcity and to place items that remind you of your intentions and your capacity. A single meaningful token placed where you handle money can act as a daily ritual that keeps your field in tune. Learn to steward risk gracefully. Those who attract sustained abundance are not reckless, but they are not paralyzed by the possibility of failure either. They take measured risks born of preparation and clarity, rather than panic. Risk is not the absence of fear, it is action taken in spite of fear, informed by judgment and humility. When you weigh a decision, gather the minimal data you need, consult trusted voices, and then move. Treat failures as experiments, not as indictments. Each experiment expands your understanding of what works and what does not, and it builds a pragmatic map of how to proceed. With each intelligent risk taken and learned from, the threshold of what you can accomplish expands. Develop the discipline of follow-through. Many promising ideas wither simply because the actions that sustain them stop. The capacity to finish projects, to respond to leads, and to execute agreements is one of the greatest differentiators between those who achieve moderate success and those who materialize real abundance. Cultivate systems that help you maintain momentum. Simple checklists, scheduled blocks of time for deep work, and clear accountability to partners or mentors. Completion creates a visible trail of competence that others notice and reward. Value time as a scarce asset and invest it wisely. Money can be replaced, but time cannot. Decisions about where you spend your hours should reflect your deepest priorities. Learn to say no without guilt to requests that siphon your focus from the commitments that generate long-term abundance. Protect periods of concentrated work when your creativity and productivity are highest. This disciplined allocation of time produces quality output and creates the conditions where high-impact opportunities can arise, because you are consistently producing results rather than merely being busy. Practice emotional containment in times of stress. When markets shift, relationships strain, or unexpected hurdles appear, the ability to hold your center determines how effectively you respond. Panic and reactivity attract poor outcomes and narrow your options. Cultivate practices that allow you to return to calm quickly. A short breathing ritual, a moment of solitude, a walk in nature, or a simple pause before responding. The person who can meet turbulence with composure becomes an anchor in their network. Others seek their counsel and trust their leadership. Calmness expands choices and creates the conditions in which creative solutions can be discovered. Invest in continual refinement of your craft. The world rewards mastery. When you deepen your skills and keep learning, you provide value that others cannot easily replicate. Deliberate practice is not about random activity but about focused improvement on specific abilities that matter for your chosen field. The person who quietly becomes excellent at a scarce and meaningful skill will be noticed and compensated well. Commit to lifelong learning as a core discipline of prosperity. Build a modest margin into your life. Financial buffers are not indulgence. They are practical tools that allow your creativity to flourish without the strangling influence of perpetual anxiety. A margin gives you the freedom to choose rather than to react. It permits you to take well-considered risks and to invest time in opportunities that require patience. Start with small reserves and grow them through disciplined saving and consistent habit. Over time, the margin itself becomes a form of resilience that supports larger cycles of growth. Practice generosity beyond money. Time, attention, gratitude, and honest feedback are forms of generosity that create deep reciprocal ties. When you offer thoughtful help without immediate expectation of return, you build relationships that become channels for future collaboration. This kind of generosity is strategic because it deepens your network, enhances your reputation, and creates an ecosystem of mutual support. The professional who invests time mentoring others often finds that those mentors become collaborators and champions in unexpected ways. Anchor your work in service. Prosperity that flows from contribution rather than extraction is sustainable and fulfilling. When your goals are framed around the difference you make in people's lives, your motivation remains clear through the inevitable ups and downs. Service creates a feedback loop. The more you contribute real value, the more people are willing to compensate and recommend you. This alignment between purpose and action forms the backbone of deep, long-lasting success. Cultivate quiet ambition that is rooted in integrity. Ambition need not be loud or showy to be potent. Quiet ambition is the steady, patient hunger for excellence that moves steadily forward without damaging the relationships or the character that support it. Pair ambition with humility and with the understanding that success is a collaborative phenomenon. Those who combine strong aspiration with generous practice attract allies and build momentum more reliably than those who push alone. Frequently review and refine your plan. A living plan is one that adapts to new information while steering toward long-term aims. Monthly reviews of goals, quarterly adjustments to strategy, and annual reflections on values keep your work aligned with what truly matters. These reviews prevent drift and create an institutional memory for your life's work that accumulates wisdom over the years. Finally, cultivate a sense of gratitude that is both felt and practiced. Gratitude is not merely an emotion but a signal to the field that you recognize provision. When you habitually acknowledge the supports around you, people who helped you, lessons learned through loss, small returns that compound, the universe seems to reciprocate. This is not mystical thinking but the practical reality of social and psychological dynamics. Appreciation deepens relationships, sharpens perception, and increases the joy that fuels sustainable effort. Live with gratitude and watch how the world adjusts to meet that openness. These practices, woven together, produce a life that invites abundance rather than chases it. They are not performative tricks but steady ways of tending your field so that resources can simply show up with greater frequency and alignment. Over time, as these disciplines become habits, your life will shift from a series of isolated successes into a coherent pattern of flourishing. The light you keep tended will begin to draw ships in unknown harbors, and you will find opportunities arriving that match the depth of who you have become. There is a discipline to receiving that is as refined as the discipline of giving. Many prepare, declare, and ask, then turn away at the last moment, unable to accept because they feel unworthy, anxious about change, or simply unpracticed at receiving grace. In a coastal village, a fisherman prepared a neat basket to hold the day's catch, but, when the fish arrived, he dropped his net because he believed he did not deserve the bounty. The sea had given generously, but his inner resistance kept the gift from settling. Receiving is a skill. It requires posture, permission, and the ability to steward what arrives. Practice opening gently. When a compliment comes, accept it with a simple thank you. When a small favor is offered, say yes with gratitude. When money arrives unexpectedly, allow yourself to feel the relief and then plan wisely for it. Ritualize reception in small ways so the nervous system learns the new pattern. Boundaries are the containers that keep your field healthy. When you say yes to everything, you thin your energy and scatter your opportunities. A gardener who watered every plant equally ended with none strong enough to produce a harvest. Effective boundaries are not walls of isolation. They are fences that allow the right things to grow. Define the kinds of projects, relationships, and tasks that align with your values and decline those that dilute your attention. Practice polite but firm responses that preserve both your time and your reputation. This discipline increases your capacity to serve well and to participate in exchanges that matter. Financial hygiene is a practical expression of respect for abundance. Simple acts, reconciling accounts weekly, keeping receipts organized, budgeting with clarity, send a message to your deeper mind and to the systems you interact with that you are serious about stewardship. When you pay attention to the small mechanics of money, larger opportunities find you more reliable and trustworthy. Build a ritual of weekly financial review. Check balances, note irregularities, celebrate wins, and update your plans. These 5 to 15 minutes each week form the habit loop that shifts chance into consistent results. Cultivate creative courage. Wealth often follows those who are willing to propose new combinations. An artist who paired craft with a service offering, a teacher who created an online course, a solver who reassembled existing tools into a fresh package. Creativity is a practical muscle. Experiment in small steps. Try a minimum viable offer, gather feedback, improve, and scale the version that works. The courage to begin imperfectly and learn fast reduces risk while increasing the rate at which you discover what resonates. Honor the seasons of growth and contraction. Not every quarter will feel abundant. Cycles are natural. Farmers know that fields rest and that a harvest requires fallow periods. When income ebbs, do the work of refinement rather than panic. Improve offers, deepen relationships with existing customers, build skills, and tend reserves. When income flows, increase your margin, invest in reinvigorating projects, and celebrate intentionally. Seasonal intelligence allows you to use each phase to build a stronger next phase, rather than just reacting to the immediate weather. Use your unique story as a magnet. People connect to narrative and authenticity. The way you arrived matters. Your setbacks, the lessons you learned, how you solved problems, they all form a living testimony that attracts aligned customers, partners, and friends. Share your journey honestly in appropriate ways, through a talk, a post, an email, or a conversation, and notice how resonance draws opportunities. Authentic narrative is not a request for sympathy. It is a bridge for connection that invites the right people to engage with your offerings. Invest in compound relationships. Some ties compound over time in surprising ways. A client who becomes a partner, a mentor who later introduces a key opportunity, a friend who recommends you to a network. Treat relationships as long-term assets. Send occasional thoughtful messages not tied to asking. Share a relevant article, celebrate a small win, or offer a sincere referral. These small deposits create goodwill that can be drawn upon in seasons when support matters most. Develop a practice of recalibration. Goals are directional. Systems are tactical. When results stall, don't throw out the vision. Recalibrate methods. Schedule monthly experiments. Change one variable in your marketing, pricing, or delivery. Test a new audience segment, or simplify an offer. Keep experiments small and measurable. Over time, iterative adjustments compound into breakthroughs without destabilizing the core of your business or life. Guard your attention from false urgency. Many requests appear urgent but carry little long-term value. Ask before responding, will this move the needle toward my most important aims? If not, defer, delegate, or decline. Over time, your ability to discern urgent from important protects your creative bandwidth and preserves the frictionless flow that wealth requires. Practice symbolic acts of gratitude that reinforce the habit of receiving. When a client pays, place a small coin in a jar dedicated to Thanksgiving and write the date and what it enabled. At the end of each month, review the jar and notice how small contributions built into meaningful totals. These tangible rituals anchor gratitude in the body and the systems that support your life. Let intuition guide tactical choices. Intuition is not opposed to analysis. It is analysis informed by pattern recognition operating below conscious awareness. When facts are thin and a decision must be made, combine simple analysis with a felt check in the body. Breathe, notice body sensations, and see whether the choice resonates as open and expansive or constricting and heavy. Over time, this embodied decision-making becomes a reliable ally that speeds choices and integrates head and heart. Create a practical giving plan. Generosity multiplies, but it needs structure to become sustainable. Decide on a percentage, a frequency, and a destination for your giving. Whether supporting a cause, offering microloans, or funding a local project. Treat giving as a recurring line item in your stewardship plan. This consistency trains your psyche to expect both giving and receiving as normal parts of economic life. Reinforce identity through small daily habits. Identity shifts slowly, often through repeated microchoices. The way you speak about money, the posture you hold, the quality of interactions you accept. Choose 3 microhabits that embody abundance, speaking calmly about finances, keeping your workspace presentable, scheduling a daily 5-minute gratitude practice. Commit to these for 90 days and notice how language, posture, and opportunity shift around you. Learn the art of strategic patience. Not all ventures pay quickly. Some require seasons to germinate. When you plant a high-quality idea, give it time while tending the process. Collect feedback, improve the offering, and allow market confidence to build. Strategic patience is not passivity. It is active tending with a discipline to wait for right timing. Sharpen your negotiation skills. Negotiation is not confrontation. It is an exchange where both parties leave better than they began. Prepare with clarity about your non-negotiables and the outcomes you seek. Listen to understand the other party's needs, and aim to create win-win scenarios where value is expanded rather than split. Treat each negotiation as an opportunity to practice presence and to refine your ability to co-create terms that feel abundant. Honor the work-life feedback loop. The quality of your personal life influences the quality of your output. Rest, relationships, and rejuvenation are not indulgences. They are strategic investments in your ability to produce high-quality contributions. Schedule time for restoration with the same respect you give to important meetings. Finally, integrate learning with embodied practice. Knowledge without disciplined implementation remains theoretical. Choose one concept you've learned recently, be it momentum building, boundary setting, or gratitude practice, and apply it in a concrete project for 30 days. Track small metrics, journal the subjective effects, and refine. The cycle of learning, applying, measuring, and refining accelerates your capacity to attract and steward abundance. These practices sharpen the edge between intention and reality. They are not a guarantee of effortless riches, but they build the internal and external conditions that make sustained prosperity a natural consequence of your daily living. As you tend to reception, boundaries, systems, and relationships, You will notice an increasing number of openings that match your refined capacity to receive. The world will not always move in straight lines, but your preparation will allow you to catch the rhythms that do, and to dance with them. There are moments in life when the practical and the profound converge, when simple acts echo in vast ways. Consider the artisan whose careful craft, repeated day after day, drew patrons from distant places. The secret was not a sudden trick, but the steady accumulation of competence, presence, and reputation. The same is true for wealth. Small daily choices, made with attention and integrity, create a field that consistently attracts opportunity. Success rarely arrives as a single explosive event. It shows up as a pattern of faithful actions that the environment learns to respond to. Anchor your efforts in disciplined daily practice. Choose a handful of routines that reflect your priorities and perform them with consistency. These might include a brief morning clarity ritual that orients your attention, a focused block of work where you build your craft, and an evening review where you note what moved the needle that day. The value of these practices is not merely in the time they consume, but in the message they send to your nervous system and to the world. You are steady, reliable, and getting better. Over months, this steadiness compounds into credibility, privilege, and freedom. Refine how you receive feedback. Feedback is raw data that, when interpreted with curiosity instead of defensiveness, becomes a gift. The master learns to separate ego from craft, using critique to refine rather than reject. When someone points out a weakness or a missed opportunity, listen first. Ask clarifying questions. Extract the useful signal and adjust course. This posture of curious responsiveness accelerates learning and strengthens relationships, both of which are essential to sustained prosperity. Practice the economy of attention in your communications. Long, unfocused messages scatter energy and reduce impact. When you speak or write about a project, aim for clarity, brevity, and a clear next step. People respond to confident, simple signals. Articulate what you want, why it matters, and a small, concrete way the other person can engage. This economy of attention honors others' time and increases the probability that they will respond favorably. Make trust a deliberate strategy. Trust is a multiplier. It increases the leverage of every interaction. Deliver on promises, respond punctually, and be transparent when errors occur. When you break trust, repair it quickly and honestly. The reputation you cultivate through these practices becomes a resource that attracts collaborations, referrals, and goodwill. In business and in life, the path of least resistance often follows lines of established trust. Turn constraints into creative prompts. Limits of time, capital, or personnel force inventive solutions. Rather than seeing constraints as lack, treat them as a design challenge. What elegant solution can you build that uses less and produces more? This mindset shifts anxiety into problem-solving energy and often produces innovations with disproportionate value. Use storytelling to align resources. A compelling narrative clarifies your vision and invites others to join. When people hear a story that resonates, they naturally want to be part of it. Weave together the problem you solve, the impact you intend, and the role others can play. This story is not a marketing ploy. It is a clear articulation of purpose and a practical map for collaboration. When aligned with honest work, this narrative becomes a magnet for partners, customers, and supporters. Balance boldness with prudence. There are times to accelerate and times to consolidate. Cultivate the discernment to know which is which. Bold moves can create breakthroughs, but without a foundation of prudence they can also cause unnecessary setbacks. Use simple decision rules. Test small, measure results, and scale what works. This approach preserves capital, focus, and energy while still allowing for meaningful leaps forward. Lean into reciprocal generosity. Deep networks are built on mutual support. When you help others without immediate expectation, you invest in a social compound interest that returns in varied forms. Offer introductions, share resources, and highlight others' work. Over time, these acts create a culture around you that is predisposed to support your projects when the need arises. Reciprocity is not transactional. It is relational currency built through consistent goodwill. Refine the art of delegation. Multiply your effectiveness by partnering with people whose strengths complement yours. Delegation is not abdication. It is a strategic allocation of time to the activities only you can perform. Build simple systems that allow others to execute repeatable tasks with clarity and autonomy. Invest in clear instructions, fair compensation, and feedback loops. Delegation frees you to focus on the high-leverage work that grows momentum. Practice rituals that cultivate presence. The way you begin and end your day shapes how you show up. A brief morning practice that centers your breath, clarifies a single priority, and calls to mind a value to embody creates a coherent field for action. An evening ritual of reflection and gratitude closes the loop and prepares the nervous system to rest and integrate. Rituals are not magic. They are scaffolding that supports consistent performance and steady growth. Keep learning with humility and speed. Markets and cultures shift quickly. The willingness to adapt determines long-term viability. Read widely in your field, test new methods, and learn from peers. Speed in learning beats raw intelligence when it is matched with disciplined practice. Treat your career and finances as a laboratory. Hypothesize, test, measure, and iterate. Cultivate a generous poverty plan. Prepare for rough seasons not out of fear, but out of prudence. A clear contingency plan reduces panic and preserves the freedom to act with strategy rather than reactivity. Build a modest reserve, maintain relationships that can offer support, and have a simple action list for lean times. This preparation increases your confidence to take meaningful risks when appropriate. Frame your work as service and commit to the long arc of contribution. People who sustain success over decades orient to the impact they make rather than to immediate rewards alone. The discipline of contributing, creating value before extracting profit, creates a return that compounds in reputation, referrals, and durable partnerships. When your work serves others well, wealth becomes a byproduct of meaningful contribution rather than the primary objective. Trust that the steady accumulation of aligned, ethical, and skillful action creates opportunities that cascade. Momentum is not luck. It is the predictable effect of consistent input meeting the dynamics of social systems and markets. As you integrate these practices, attention, craft, generosity, boundaries, and disciplined iteration, you will notice a qualitative shift in how opportunities arrive. They will begin to fit more naturally with who you are and the life you seek to build. At this point, prepare for the final section. You have drawn near to a comprehensive synthesis of these practices, and in the next part you will receive the closing guidance that weaves them together into a disciplined life of receiving, giving, and legacy building. Continue to practice the small, faithful actions that create a living momentum. Trust that your steady work is rearranging circumstances in subtle but decisive ways. You have arrived at the closing passage, the place where all the threads of practice, presence, and patience converge. This final piece will not introduce new secrets so much as weave together the practices you have already embraced and shape them into a coherent way of living that invites sustained prosperity. Imagine your life as a garden that has received careful tending. The soil has been prepared, seeds planted, water given, and weeds removed. Now the job is to maintain what you have grown, to recognize the cycles, and to steward the harvest so it increases and nourishes others. Begin by ritualizing a daily alignment. Each morning, even for 5 minutes, place your awareness where it matters most. Breathe deeply and tune into the feeling of abundance you have rehearsed earlier. See one clear intention for the day, one action that, if completed, will tilt momentum in your favor. This tiny anchor of clarity protects your attention from the 1,000 small urgencies that will demand it. When you choose one essential thing and give it your focused energy, you reinforce the habit of direction and build the invisible architecture of momentum. Over weeks and months, these daily, anchored actions compound into systems that free you from unpredictable swings and make your productivity reliable and magnetic. Next, maintain a weekly ritual of review and celebration. Set aside a short period each week to review what you did, what moved the needle, and what did not. Record small wins and any learning that came from friction or failure. Celebrate modest progress. Acknowledge what you are grateful for, and mark at least one small victory with a brief ritual, a moment of silence, a handwritten note, a small act of generosity. These recognitions prime your nervous system to notice abundance and reinforce the habits that produce it. They also preserve your joy. Joy is a sustainable fuel that supports long-term effort far better than guilt or obligation. Keep tending relationships as an ongoing project. Relationships are not static. They require care, reciprocity, and honest conversation. Schedule time to reach out, not when you need something, but simply to offer value or to acknowledge another person's work. Send a thoughtful message, share a resource, or introduce two people who can help one another. Over time, these small deposits of generosity create a network that will respond when opportunity calls. Remember that reputation is built in the quiet acts of reliability, returning a call, honoring commitments, and showing up with integrity. These acts create social capital that business plans cannot purchase. Guard your attention with fierce tenderness. Time is finite. Attention is the medium through which life is crafted. Learn to say no without apology to requests and distractions that do not align with your highest aims. Protect blocks of deep work when your creativity and focus are highest. Use simple rules. Decline meetings shorter than a threshold unless they have a clear agenda. Batch similar tasks to preserve momentum. Limit shallow engagements like reactive email and social media during your most productive hours. The fewer times you fragment your attention, the more coherent and powerful your output will be, and the more opportunities aligned with depth will find you. Practice adaptive iteration. Treat your projects as experiments that evolve. When you encounter friction, resist the impulse to abandon the vision or to double down blindly. Instead, measure the friction, identify the smallest variable you can change, and test that modification. Keep cycles short so you can learn quickly and adjust without heavy cost. This approach keeps you resilient and responsive to reality while preserving the integrity of long-term aims. Over time, your collection of small, intelligent adjustments will add up to substantial breakthroughs. Honor the economy of small commitments. Momentum grows not from giant leaps but from consistent microactions. Whether your chosen daily habit is saving a small amount, reading for 10 minutes, or doing a focused creative task, commit to it with humility and intensity. Take the long view. The compound effect is invisible at first and then undeniable. When you feel impatient, look back and count the friction you have already removed and the small wins you have accumulated. This inventory will renew your resolve and remind you that slow, steady practice is the most reliable route to significant outcomes. Deepen your capacity to receive. Many people master giving but stumble at reception. Expand your muscle for gratitude, for saying yes when an appropriate gift or opportunity arrives, and for stewarding what you are given. Create a practical plan for any new resource, a portion for saving, a portion for reinvestment, and a portion for giving or celebration. Having a plan reduces anxiety and helps you exercise wise stewardship. When rewards arrive, document them, who provided them, how they manifested, and what you learned. This map of returns reinforces your trust in the system that supports you and trains your attention to recognize future openings. Sustain a courage practice. Courage is the habit of moving in spite of fear, and it is cultivated by small, brave acts. Each time you choose a value-aligned action that scares you, speaking up, launching a project, asking for fair compensation, you expand what you believe is possible. Include regular acts of courage in your growth plan. Over time, these practices enlarge your capacity to meet bigger opportunities without being overwhelmed by anxiety or paralysis. Elevate service as a daily orientation. Let contribution be the lens through which you evaluate opportunities. When your work improves lives, the financial returns will follow because you have made yourself useful in ways others value. Service is not a sacrifice but a design principle. Seek to solve real problems and align your compensation with the value you provide. This alignment builds both self-worth and a resilient stream of exchange. Design financial systems that reflect your values. Whether you choose conservative saving, strategic investing, or generous circulation, match your financial architecture to the life you most deeply want. Automate where possible to reduce friction, keep transparent records to maintain clarity, and choose advisors or partners who reflect your integrity. Money is a tool. A clear system ensures that it serves your aims rather than becomes the aim itself. Teach and mentor. One of the most reliable multipliers of wealth is the act of teaching. When you teach what you know, you clarify your own thinking, you expand your reputation, and you attract collaborators who share your standards. Mentor someone who shows hunger and integrity. The very act of giving time and attention to another person's growth multiplies your own capacity and often surfaces opportunities you would not have encountered alone. Practice cyclical review of values. At least annually, reflect on whether the way you earn, spend, and give aligns with your evolving values. As you grow, priorities shift. Create a simple ritual. Review your major commitments, ask whether they still serve your highest aims, and adjust with courage. Reallocating time and resources toward what matters most is a form of constant course correction that keeps your trajectory aligned over years and decades. Build a legacy program. Legacy is not an abstract future. It is a practice begun now. Define the values, skills, and resources you want to pass on. This might include small educational gifts to young people, an apprenticeship structure in your business, or clear documentation of knowledge that would otherwise be lost. Legacy planning creates meaning in your actions and provides a horizon that steadies your daily choices. Keep cultivating curiosity and humility. No matter how much you accumulate, stay hungry to learn and ready to be corrected. The world changes. The nuanced edge of advantage often lies where newcomers combine old wisdom with novel approaches. Read broadly, test ideas, and maintain a posture of studenthood. Humility accelerates learning and opens you to collaboration in ways that arrogance forbids. Finally, remember that abundance is both personal and communal. Prosperity that isolates is brittle. Prosperity that circulates becomes a living legacy. Use your growing capacity to build systems of contribution that uplift others. When you create opportunities for others, you enrich the network that, in turn, supports your continued growth. This reciprocal loop, build, give, receive, repeat, creates a field that multiplies across generations. As you close this final section, take a moment to integrate. Breathe deeply and list 3 concrete actions you will carry into this week. Make them small, specific, and non-negotiable. Commit to the daily alignment ritual, the weekly review, and one courageous act. Place a short reminder in your space that calls you back when life fragments your attention. Return to these practices again and again. They are not a one-time fix but a lifelong craft. The work you've done in these pages is an initiation into a way of living that transforms how the world meets you. When your interior field shifts, when your attention, language, and posture align with abundance, the world responds with patterns that fit your new frequency. Do not rush the proofs. Let them arrive in their own timing. Continue to cultivate generosity, competence, clarity, and patience. Over time, these habits will gather momentum and reshape your life into an expression of the wealth that has always been available to you.